we have an early spring here in New England, which generally means it's really wet. Now luckily I'm protected here by this porch, but out here, and as you can probably hear on the mic, it just is a totally different soundscape out here when it rains. I'm gonna take my Tascam DR07 Mark II, put it in stereo mode and get a nice stereo recording of this whole soundscape, traffic, rain, everything, and turn it into an awesome ambient drone. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull off that rain recording onto my computer, but before we get too deep into it, I'm going to be grazing over a lot of the basic music production Ableton Live functions here and just get right into making the ambient drone. So if you feel like you're missing a few things and you want to get a deeper dive into Ableton Live, you should consider Skillshare, the sponsor for today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with over 25,000 classes in music, design, business, and more. If you're constantly learning and creating new things, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's under $10 a month for a premium membership, and you get access to all of the classes, so you can pick and choose exactly what classes you want to see. If you just type in Ableton into the class selection, you will get so many different options for types of courses you want. They vary in length, and you can see that some of them have thousands of students that have taken these classes. Skillshare is not only going to help you fulfill your creative curiosity, but it's also going to help you move your career forward so you can end up doing things like creating videos or creating music like I do for a living every single day. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month, which is pretty affordable, but for the first 500 of my subscribers that sign up using the link in the description, you'll get 2 months free. Think about how much you could learn with these classes in just 2 months. Highly recommend you take advantage of the 2 months free and see what you can learn from Skillshare. Don't forget to use my link in the description. Join the 7 million other creators using Skillshare today. Now, there's a couple things I want to do with this sample before we start working with it. I definitely don't want to warp it. I want it to just sound like it sounds normally, no time warping or anything. And then also, a lot of these like big peaks are wind distortion. So I couldn't put the windscreen on the recorder because I was recording a wide stereo field. And when you do that, the windscreen doesn't fit on there. So I'll have to account for that with EQ. So just to listen to that real quick. You can hear that really low rumble. So obviously it's not very loud like it looks like it is. It's just a very low rumbling sound. So what I want to do is figure out where that is and EQ it out. And I can do that by throwing on a high pass and just kind of figure out. I can literally see in the EQ that it's right around 100, a little higher. Still there. I really just want the top end. I'm not really worried about getting any low end frequencies at all for this. Cool. All right, I think that's doable. And what I'm going to do now is just flatten it, freeze it first, and then I don't have to worry about that EQ anymore. Now you notice we have what looks like a very quiet recording, so I'm going to actually bring the volume of the whole thing up. And I can do it now without it looking like all that low end is maxing out. Just like that. So now we have a sort of normal looking waveform. A nice rain atmosphere. Now what's also cool about this is I live on a fairly busy street, so this sample has some traffic noises in it as well as some birds. So it's not strictly rain in this sample. So when we process it, those swells are actually going to be really cool. But let's actually get into processing the sound now. So we can go ahead and throw on a resonator. Click and drag it right onto the track. And a resonator generates tones from some audio. So right now, if you load up as default, it's just generating a C2. You can hear that buzz, kind of sounds like a bumblebee. The dry wet is set to 50%. So if you put it all the way up, you'll get 100% just that tone. And if you put it at 0, you'll get just the recording. We're going to play with that later on, but I'm going to leave it at 50 for now so we can hear what we're doing. Now, your root note knob, you can choose any root note you want. I'm going to choose maybe something a little lower, like, I don't know. This is just totally arbitrary, but I guess we can choose D sharp. And then you have 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you can set those to any pitches you want, but they're pitches in relation to your main pitch. So we can move by semitones. So if I want to put this one up 12 semitones, which will be an octave, it'll sound like this. And each of these pitches has a gain, so I can make this top octave come out a little more. Cool. And then if I want to make a chord, I can go ahead and add the fifth in, so plus 7 semitones for a fifth. And then to fill out the chord, I can put a third. Now, if we want like a happy sounding ambient drone, we might want to go for a major third, which is plus 4 semitones. Here's a swell that I was talking about before. Or we can go plus 3 for a minor. Makes it sound much darker. I'm going to go with a happier one for now. And say you wanted to add tones on top of these, you have one more spot to maybe add a seventh or to put one of these other pitches an octave up or down. I'm going to go ahead and put the third on top, so I'm just going to plus 12. So 12 plus 4 is 16. Go ahead and bring that up. So now I have the third but an octave up playing as well. Right now it sounds kind of lame, and we're going to add some more effects to it to make it sound cooler, but we can also play with this filter right here. I'm going to set it to a low pass. That gives it sort of a warmer sound, obviously. I like a softer sound like it is with this lower pass filter, so I'm going to keep it at that. I might want to boost this volume a bit more. It's kind of maxed out there, so I'm going to throw a utility on it and just add some gain here. Another thing that I like to do with these samples too is to just shave off a little bit of the beginning and a little bit of the end. Like there's clearly something going on here that I don't want on the recording, so I'm going to shave that off. And then we have like a nice undisturbed recording here. And if you wanted to make something of a loop of it, I would find a section that was pretty clean with no real traffic noises or anything and try to loop that. But I think it's okay to have this solid just over 6 minute track here. So now that I have a chord, what I might do is throw a reverb on it. Of course, I'm going to turn off the chorus and the diffusion network, as well as the filtering, put it on high. I'm going to set a pretty high decay time because I like a big reverb. And let's see what that sounds like. I like to bring the decay up a little bit on the resonator and the tones blend together. Now what's fun to do with this, especially if you were going to perform using this technique, is to assign the dry wet of the resonator to a MIDI controller. So I have the Akai MPK here. I'm going to go ahead and assign that dry wet knob. And now I can actually just dial it in. Now, the sweet spot for me is around 70% because you get a lot of the tone of the resonator, but you still get a bit of the actual sound on top. So you're still going to be hearing some of that rain come through. So a drone like this can be a really cool backdrop to different types of songs or beats. You could even just export this drone by itself and maybe set it to loop and just have one long relaxing sound of looping rain but with a tone behind it. You might even consider having different sections have different tones. So this is actually pretty nice. Another way you could perform with this is by turning tones on and off with a MIDI controller. So I could assign the pads in CC mode to the on and off switches. And now, so they're all on. And you could experiment with that and even change the tonality of the chord over time. Another thing I like to do is just put a synth over it and just improvise. So I'll just throw an operator on here. And I'll grab the same reverb that's on the field recording, put it on here, and even dial in some delay. Nice. Then if we let this run, we have just a really fun drone to improvise over. And you can see how that can actually be really fun and a certain type of meditation for electronic musicians. So that's how I create an ambient drone out of field recordings like rain. This is what I used in my rain performance, which is one of the first videos that I put up on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe for more live electronic music performances, tutorials, and content to make you a more productive producer. My name's TAETRO. Have a good one.